Everyone, here we are at the end of Finished Vehicle Logistics North America 2025. Just saying goodbye to our delegates here over lunch in the sun. But this morning we had another set of great discussions and presentations, picking up on some of the important themes that we have indeed been discussing, whether that's in managing uncertainty, but also looking deep at areas of quality as well as EV logistics. So, for example, Amy Paulsen, Director of Vehicle Logistics at General Motors, talked about how important it is for GM or all OEMs to have an unbroken chain of information to try to eliminate gaps where damage might have occurred, where we can understand root causes, and you can integrate this into a system view. It's not always so easy because the network is large and complex. So even if you're using telematics in one place to read diagnostics, you might not have the signal in some places. You might have constraints with battery, and it's not always clear where damage may occur. But building this unbroken chain will, of course, help everyone. And there is a lot of great technology coming into the market to better pick up damage and, of course, then use the tools and analytics to determine root causes. We went much deeper today on EV logistics. The electric vehicle market in North America and in the US is actually growing despite some of the geopolitics and regulation. GM, for example, has seen more than 60% growth just in the first quarter year on year. But there's also areas like commercial vehicles, which, although still small volume, we're seeing growth. And Tony Stinza from International, which produces commercial vehicles, trucks, buses in North America. He shared some interesting insight on the complexities. So, for example, ICE trucks can be decked and piggybacked one to another to have some transport efficiency. This is very difficult with commercial vehicle trucks because of where the battery design is, and it's not possible to put the equipment on for decking. So that requires a change in product engineering. And likewise, the infrastructure for charging across the US and North America is still lacking, and that raises all complications if you're transporting a truck 1,200 miles. There's some parallels clearly to how that works for passenger vehicles, and Tom Shannon from General Motors talked about how GM doesn't have charging infrastructure at every location. A rail ramp might not have it. Maybe a plant has it, but others don't, and it's expensive and time-consuming to build that infrastructure. But companies like GM can't wait. They can't not move their vehicles, so they're turning to things like mobile charging solutions to ensure that vehicles can be charged even where there isn't the infrastructure. So that's a good example of sort of taking destiny into your own hands and making sure that the vehicles still move, even at the same time that we look to system-wide improvements. So Charles Franklin from Glovis America talked about how there needs to be sort of long-term changes in equipment design for haul-away, in rail car design or remanufacture to account for different weights and dimensions. But of course, that does not happen overnight, and that, then we need solutions like mobile charging. And Amy Paulsen, again, also joined us on stage together with Augustin Susteda from Detroit to talk again about how the network is reimagining itself. And they gave some great examples of innovations in times of crisis. So whether that's innovative ways to move vehicles across the border between US and Mexico ahead of the tariff deadline or before the end of quarter. And likewise, working with rail partners to perhaps circulate vehicles that may need to be held depending upon the tariff situation. Amy Paulsen from GM said something similar to what we heard from Anu Gaul from Volkswagen, in that it's a big decision to stop production. It's a big decision to stop shipment because it will take you X number of weeks to catch it back up. So you have to take the consideration of what it means. And that was one of Amy's closing messages, is to make sure that GM internally understands if it needs to make a decision based on the geopolitical situation or otherwise to start or stop production, that at least have full facts and information about what the costs are and what the potential lost volume and capacity is. And that's kind of the message we want to leave you with today, is making sure that take the emotion out of the crisis right now and try and put the data in. Understand what the real costs are be it of tariffs, be it of avoiding tariffs, and think about what decisions you make will have implications for the weeks and months ahead. So that's it. That's it from this year's FVL North America, one of the best that we've had, even at this time of uncertainty. Hope you've enjoyed some of the highlights you've seen here. You're going to see a lot more coming up over the coming days and weeks as we release more of our Red Sofa video interviews, as we provide more coverage from the event, videos, highlights from all the things that have happened here. And of course, we look forward to seeing you again at one of our other events, be it in Nashville in June, or in Detroit in Global, Detroit for Automotive Logistics Global in September, or in Mexico in November, or indeed online for our new live stream series. So check out our website. You can find out all more about that. Thanks again for following with us, and we'll see you again soon.